Alrighty. Welcome back, everyone, to Provocative Reviews, his favorite cards of the Survivor Season 6 round. We are on to round 2 today. We're going to go ahead and get into it in a bit, but just before, I just want to do a quick disclaimer. I'm in no way associated with the hosts or judge of Survivor Season 6. This is a completely unofficial review for fun. This is going to no way affect your score, even though this one's coming out well after the scores have already been posted. And yeah, let's just get right into it. Our challenge description for round 2 was to design a pre-constructed commander deck, including a face commander, alternate commander, non-creature card designed for multiplayer, and a card that referenced your commander. This was an elimination round, the first one of the tournament. It combined your score from this round and the previous round 1, and if your total score was below a certain benchmark, you were eliminated. Alright, we are going to now get into the honorable mentions for round 2. How I formatted this one a little bit different from last week. I picked one face commander, one alternate commander, one non-creature card designed for multiplayer, and one card that referenced my commander for each honorable mention slot. This is not how it's always going to be run, but just for this week, this is how I wanted to do it. Let's go ahead and get started with the honorable mention for face commander, and it's going to be Ephemia of the Iron Stare. 2, a white, a black, and a green for a 4/5 legendary creature human cleric. It has lifelink, and whenever Ephemia enters or attacks, you may return target permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield with the finality counter on it if you control a permanent with each lesser mana value. And the flavor text is, "Come, my friends, let us build our own path to the celestial realm." I think this is just such a clever design. You have this creature who comes down around turn 5, so you got plenty of time to stock your graveyard and build up for it. You can pick something in your graveyard that's, mana value 3, and then all you need to do is have a 2-drop, a 1-drop, and a land on the field, and you just get that mana value 3 card back to the battlefield. I think it's a really clever design, and it is probably one of my favorite cards of the round. Moving on to the alternate commander honorable mention, it's going to be Kahiro, Pyroform Weaver by Cool Beans. 1, a red and a red for a 2/2 legendary creature human shaman. It says, elementals you control get +1/+0, and if you create one or more creature tokens, you may instead create twice that many tokens, except they're red elementals and have haste. If you do, sacrifice them at the beginning of your next end step. This is just such a clever way to do token doubling in red, because normally red does not get the double tokens. However, with having the tokens only stick around for 1 turn and be buffed up, you got this guy who just promotes a lot of aggression, going wide with tokens, but they're not sticking around, so you got to make sure you pick the right ones to copy. Good, very good design from Cool Beans. Our next honorable mention is going to be Dream Gyre Wave by Viola. 5, a blue and a blue for a sorcery with return each non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Each opponent may put a permanent card from their hand onto the battlefield. For each opponent who does, you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. I really love the choice cards that say, hey, you can have something, but if you do, I also get something, and you have that deal with each opponent. And it's very clever to staple that type of deal onto a board wipe where your opponent's fully set back to 0, and they'll be very tempted to get a head start on rebuilding to the board. However, if they do, your head start will be even greater. This is the exact type of card that I love to see for blue and for board wipes in general. Our final honorable mention goes to Pie Guy. It is Echoes of Imitation. 3, a blue and a blue for a sorcery with, when you cast this spell, if you control your commander, copy it for each other opponent it could target. Each copy targets one of those opponents. Create a token that's a copy of target opponent's commander. Very, very splashy design, as Judge 1 said. You can just go ahead and get a copy of whatever commander your opponent has, which is already a really cool thing to do. We have not seen that explored in canon at all, to my knowledge. That's already novel. And then being able to copy it for each opponent is just like so cool, and all I ask of you is to have your commander out, which is a reasonable hoop, but not, impossible. I really like the floor on this. I really like the ceiling on this. I think it's a very solid package. Alrighty, now we are at my favorite entry for round 2, which is going to be, drumroll please, you can drumroll at home, ba-da-dum-bum-bum, Gateway 7. Very good submission, and I'm going to go ahead and get right into it with the face commander, Marchesa atop the throne. 3 a black and a red for a 5/5 legendary creature, human noble. When Marchesa enters, you become the monarch. If you're already the monarch, create 2 black assassin creature tokens with menace instead. Whenever a player attacks the monarch, each opponent loses 3 life unless they sacrifice a non-land permanent or discard a card. Super clever. This is an upgrade on the canon version of Marchesa that uses the monarch in almost every way. You have opponents who are incentivized not to attack you if you're the monarch, but are incentivized to attack other players. If an opponent is a monarch, they're again not incentivized to attack that player, instead leaving it open for you to attack them unless they want to torment themselves. I think it's a really perfect and, as Judge 3 said, elegant design. Very well done. Next we have the alternate commander, Lucia Covey, the Queen's Thorn. 1 a black and a red for a 3/2 legendary creature, human assassin with menace, and whenever Lucia Covey deals combat damage to an opponent, create a treasure token. Then, if each of your opponents lost life this turn, exile the top card of each of their libraries. You may play cards exiled this way until end of turn. Super clever design. You have a card that definitely wants to go and just get into the red, which I always love for commanders. You should be swinging out with them. You have a card that's generating you mana, and you have a card that can potentially steal cards from your opponent if you do a little bit of work. You have a baseline effect and then a card, and then a benefit, if you actually put in the effort. I like that the treasure helps fix for the cards that you steal, and it's also nice just to have in general. I think this is a very solid submission. Next up, we have the non-creature card that works well in multiplayer. This is going to be Queen's Dictate. 1 in a black for a sorcery with each opponent secretly chooses Revolt or Relent. Then the choices are revealed. For each player who chose Revolt, they sacrifice a creature with the greatest power among creatures they control. If each opponent chose Relent, they each lose 4 life and you become the monarch. A excellent choose one or the other for your opponent type card here. Each player is incentivized, of course, to talk with each other, even if it is a secret choice. But it's also very cool because you can have just even if one single person chooses Revolt instead of Relent, or Relent instead of Revolt, it really messes with the table dynamics, meaning you have a very good incentive to potentially lie to your opponents, which I think is great flavor for a Marchesa-themed commander deck. So very well done here. Finally, for our card that mentions the commander, we have Black Rose Blade Masters. 1 in a red for a 2/2 creature, human soldier. This creature has first strike as long as it's attacking, and whenever this creature attacks, untap your commander. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase. This is probably one of my favorite cards in the submission just for its simplicity. It just says, your commander gets an extra combat, but I have to swing in on the first combat to get it. I think it's just super clever. We haven't really seen something similar to this in canon before. Obviously, we've had extra combats, but not really for just your commander. So I think this is just a great choice. And I also love the flavor text thing. This might be what happens next time we go to Fiora, I believe is the blade name. Next time we go to Fiora. So yeah, I agree with Judge 1. Cool and good. Excellent job, Gateways, on the entire submission. Thank you, everyone, so much for tuning in. You'll be hearing from me very shortly. I'm going to attempt to get the slightly late round 3 video out as well. And I will see you all when it happens. Expect that in the next couple of days. I am signing off. Bye-bye.